Somebody asked, hey Leon, I've been starting my agency. I want to hit 10K a month and I started cold calling, but for some reason everybody needs to think about it or wants me to send them an email. Do you have any tips? Yes, absolutely. Now, most people are setting you up with cold calling on YouTube is completely wrong, and you don't know these simple two principles that will make it so easy for you to book appointments. Now, my name is Leon. I basically built a 50K a month agency, and now I run a consultancy. I live in Bangkok, and I hit my first ever $10,000 a month in December 2023. That's been about 2.5 years since, and I've never ever for a single month dipped under that ever again. And since then, I've helped a bunch of entrepreneurs also hit their first $10,000 a month. If you want to see some of those, check the link in the description. There's my case studies, there's some testimonials. All right, so let me show you in this video exactly the 3 things you need for you to literally become an appointment printer. So now your cold calls fail because of 2 reasons really, right? The first one is you are not leading, and most people have no clue what leading even actually means, right? So when you are conversing with a person, there's always a certain goal, right? Maybe you're just having fun, but in a cold call, the goal is always the same, right? You want to book an appointment with this person because you want to sell them a service. Now, when you cold call somebody, they know that. The first thing that goes wrong is that you feel guilty. You almost feel like, oh, I have something to sell, so it's bad. You need to get that out of your mind. You are selling the solution to their problem. When your solution works, their business will improve and it will help their business forward. It's like a doctor feeling guilty that he's supplying people with medicine and treatments for their illnesses and diseases. It wouldn't make any sense. So you need to make people book an appointment, not ask for it. That's one of the biggest mistakes most people make in their cold calls. You're too apologetic, you are on the fence yourself, you're insecure, and you're asking for permission, and your communication from your words to your tonality to your energy all communicate, please give me a chance. And when people feel that, they go, this person must be below, right? They're not very good at what they do. And so they'll need to think about it. They'll feel a lot of friction. So you need to make people book an appointment, not ask for it. How do you actually do this? That is what we call leading, right? We lead by simply asking questions. And when we are the one asking questions, we're the one in control of the conversation. So let me show you how this looks, right? If I would say, hey, just Leon here. Is this the owner, right? I am the one asking for information. Now, very important in a cold call is any question is inherently a ask for value. But when you have, let's say, a bank account and there's no money in it and you're asking to withdraw money, they're just simply going to say, hey, you don't have any funds and you're not going to be able to withdraw. So this is where we have to be very careful in our cold call. Let's say I walk up to you on the street as a complete stranger and I go, hey, could you basically tell me the whole background of your life? What would your answer most likely be? You'd most likely be like, who are you? Why? Or you would just keep walking or just be like, who's this weird guy? In any case, you wouldn't be like, yeah, sure, let me tell you all the background about my life. Why? Because I'm asking a lot, even though you don't know who I am and you don't know if there's anything in it for you, which means I'm going to spend a lot of effort for basically nothing. So your brain will just not want to do it. But if I walk up to you on the street and I say, hey, do you like strawberries? You will most likely say, yeah, sure. Why? Because the effort it requires to say yes is smaller than the effort that would be like, oh, who are you? Get away from me. Or I don't know you. Why should I tell you? That takes more time, more words, more energy, right? Than saying yes. And people in a cold call always, right, because your prospect doesn't know you, always divert towards the least effort. The answer that is the easiest to say, right? So whenever people are faced with cognitive load, which is basically the brain going, okay, there's a lot we need to do here, right? They shut down because their brain is like, I need this valuable energy for my day to run my business, to do the things I want to do. Why would I spend it on this random stranger who just gave me a call? So then they will naturally default to the easiest answer, which is, I don't know, or send me an email. I'll need to think about it. And yeah, I don't have time right now. Or the very common one, I'm not interested. So the first principle is you need to lead. And how you lead is first of all by your energy, and second of all by asking closed questions where you already know the outcome of the question. So when I said, hey, do you like strawberries? The only question you can really answer is yes or no, right? Then if you go yes, I say, okay, awesome. Would you be entirely opposed if I gave you a very delicious box of strawberries? Most likely you're now like, I guess not, right? Because there's not really anywhere for you to go, right? If you would say no, I can instantly have another follow-up question to that for you, right? I could be like, oh, that's interesting. So you like strawberries. Is it that you're not hungry? Or maybe you don't trust me, right? I gave them two possible statements. Now they could go, if it's none of them, it's like, no, it's that ... right? But in any case, I gave them a closed question. And that's the same thing you want to do through your whole cold call. You will always have to be the one asking the question at the end of everything you say. So even if the prospect asks you a question, right? Let's say you're getting a bit further in your cold call and they're like, oh, what's the price of this? Right? Instead of going, well, actually we got, a lot of different packages. We have anywhere from $100 to $2,000, but it really depends on what you need, right? And then just leaving a silence where they now have to fill in the silence. You go, but it's really dependent on what you need. So what would even be a good time for you to discuss that, Monday or Tuesday? Right? I lead it back to a close. So I answer their question and then I lead it back to the next step in the interaction. And that's what you really want, right? It's stages of an interaction and the only thing you care about is progression. So whenever you take a path outside of your script and the prospect asks you a question, you make sure to answer their question, but then bring it back to the progression. That is how you lead. So that way it's never vague for the prospect what's next, right? Hey, is this John, the owner? Yeah, this is John. Oh, yeah, this is Leon, by the way, just Leon. But I saw that you have about 30 reviews on your Google reviews. Does that sound about right? Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, okay, but have you only served 30 businesses in your entire business journey? No, we have served way more businesses. Okay, so I suppose you serve a good amount of customers every single month, right? Yeah, that's true. Okay. Notice how every time I say something, there's instantly a question that would basically require a very specific answer, right? You have served more than 30 customers, right? What are you going to answer to this? No, I'm not interested, right? That's very weird. That requires them to pattern interrupt. But they could say, yes, I have. And also, it's not really sure if I'm pitching them or not. Now, that is how you lead, right? Every single time you say something, there has to be a yes or no question or a simple closed question where they only can pick one out of two things, right? So if I say, awesome, okay, you know what? I have this amazing tool that can literally put all of that on autopilot. You're going to get reviews from every single client. Now, the great thing about it is if they don't leave a good review, it will not be locked by Google. We're going to redirect them somewhere else. But I'll tell you all about that later. Hey, I want to really walk you through this because it's really an amazing opportunity for your business. What day works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? Right? Two options. Not, hey, would you like to hop on a call? If you do that, they can say no, right? So not every closed question is good. So now what we learned, okay, first we need to lead. Second, we need to ask closed questions, but we shouldn't ask any closed questions that can set us up for failure, right? If I ask, do you want to book a call? Now their brain has to evaluate, do I want to get on a call again with this person? Now they can say no. That's me setting myself up for failure. If I say, hey, would you be opposed to having more 5-star reviews for your business? How are they going to be like, no? So when I ask a closed question, I at least make sure that it's almost impossible to say no or to give the less preferable answer. And always assume close. Do not be scared for rejection. You might be like, oh, but if I say Monday or Tuesday, they haven't even told me yet that they want to hop on a call. Don't care. Because the assumed close will always work better than asking them for permission. Remember, we are here to make them book an appointment, not ask for it. Your whole frame in a cold call should be, I have an amazing service that they need right now, and we need to book an appointment. I'm not saying that you should say that to them verbally, but that's how you should see it in your mind. Not as in, I'm gonna make some calls, hopefully some people will say yes to me, and then hopefully I can make some money. That frame itself is the reason your calls are not converting, because it's making your brain say stupid shit. But when your brain is so convicted in, I have an amazing service that they need right now and we need to book a call, it will start to say different things, right? It will start to create more urgency. And that brings us to the next major principle. Now, the number 2 mistake people make when they cold call is there's no urgency and you don't know how to create it, right? So you think, oh, okay, maybe I should say there's only 10 spots left or we can only take 5 more clients. No. All fake urgency is just bullshit. People can smell through it. Everybody knows it's fake. Real urgency comes from the opportunity cost of not solving the problem. I say that very slowly. The opportunity cost of not solving the problem. Opportunity cost is what you miss out on by not doing this. For example, you not having the skills, the principles, and the systems to make $10,000 a month is costing you exactly $10,000 a month every single month. That is the opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost goes way further than just the initial loss. With the $10,000 a month, you might be able to travel. Therefore, you can network. Therefore, you can get to masterminds. Maybe you buy a mentorship from somebody, right? And you connect with these people, you get more knowledge. Now, from those connections and from learning, you suddenly find how to make $30,000 a month. Now, boom, because you were making $10,000, you got into contact with people, you learned more, now you're making $30,000 a month. But you missed out on that because you didn't even know how to make 10K a month in the first place. That is what we call opportunity cost. Now, in a cold call, right, if I just go, okay, so we got an awesome way to get you more clients, right, or we got an awesome way to get you more reviews on Google, yeah, that sounds cool, but you have to understand, right, there's certain stages of market awareness. And when you're calling people up out of the blue, they're mostly unaware. Unaware means they have no clue that this problem exists, and they also don't know how to solve the problem. So I can call you up and say, hey, you need this cold calling script, right? But if you are like, I don't even really cold call, then you're like, I don't need it, right? And that is what most of these people are in. They're unaware, right? The next stage to unawareness is problem awareness. Problem awareness knows, I know what the problem is, I just don't know how to solve it. Then we have solution aware. That means, hey, I know there is a solution, I just don't know what is the right one. Then we have product aware. This means, okay, I understand there's different solutions on the market. I know the products being offered. I know the solutions. I'm just not sure who to go with. And then we got most aware. Now you know everything about the market. You're like, okay, this is the guy. I trust him. He has the right solution to my problem. Now, when you're calling people, they're mostly in unawareness. That means we have to make them aware. So if I say, hey, I got a cool way to get you more Google reviews, that's just like, okay, now they already have to want more Google reviews for them to go, oh yeah. And we wrongly assume often that people already know the importance of our product. But the fact is 80% of the market is not aware of why your product is that important. Otherwise, they would have already bought it. That's what you got to print in your mind. If they knew how important my solution was, they would have already bought it. They would have already taken action on it. So if they don't have a website, that clearly indicates that they don't see the importance of a website. Otherwise, they would have clearly taken action on a website. So if you go, I got a great website for you, right? They just go, yeah, I'm fine. Why? Because without a website, they're fine, right? And they conclude that I don't need it. So we have to make them care. And we do this by creating a problem in their mind. And that's what we call problem reaction solution. And there's a very great technique that even the biggest billionaires use this technique to make so much money. So much money. You have to understand. Imagine, right? A big problem, right, with the society itself is that often there's not really a problem. And we cannot make money if there's no problem. But what if we just invent a problem? Now, I'm going to sound a bit conspiracy theory here, right? But imagine, just very theoretical, hypothetical. Imagine there's like this big power with a lot of money.
And they're like, we want to make even more money. And we offer medicine. We sell medicine. We sell vaccines. We sell medicine. We sell all kinds of treatments to diseases and sickness. But people aren't really sick. So how are we going to sell this? We made this cool cure, but for a disease that nobody has. So you know what? What if we just spread the virus ourselves? Imagine if we just spread a virus, right? And then we sell the medicine to the virus. It's very smart. Now we can make a lot of money. And I'm not saying anything. I'm not making any claims here, right? I'm just explaining the theory of problem, reaction, solution. And this happens all the time, right? This happens all the time in the world. People create a problem for them to sell the solution to you, right? It's just how it works. So if I go, instead of like, hey, I have this cool system that can get you reviews, I go, hey, so there's actually a big problem. You told me that you have served way more than 20 customers in your business journey, but you only have about 20 reviews on your Google. Now, what happens when that is the case is Google will penalize you because you're not collecting the reviews in the time span, right, that they deem you credible. So what that means is if they only see one review come in every single month, even though you're serving, let's say, 20, 30 customers, they will go compare it to the top competitors in your space who might have a system that collectively gets them 10, 20 reviews every month, and they'll go, okay, this business isn't very good. So even though you might have 4.8 stars, they will dump your search results because they see, compared to this business, they're not really having a lot of clients, right? So you will end up all the way at the bottom of the page. Were you aware of this? Now they go, no, I wasn't aware of that. Boom. That is where I got them. I just shifted them from unaware to problem aware. That is where I can now bring in the solution. Because now their brain starts going, okay, fuck, we're getting penalized. I didn't know that. Wait a minute. How can we fix this? Because as soon as I create a problem in your mind, you will go, I need to fix this. Right? Let's say you come to me, I do some tests with some blood work, and I'm like, yeah, you actually have this very grave disease. You go, fuck, what the fuck do we need to do? Now, you might not have any disease, but I told you I did a bunch of tests and I made it look important, and you go, okay, shit, what do we need to do? You will start to feel fear because you believe that you have a problem, right? And that is the important part. So that is how we create urgency. Now they go, okay, shit, I'm getting penalized. Yeah, and what happens if you get penalized, obviously less people can find you, right? So most people will start to go to your competitors. Meanwhile, they got the systems in place, they keep collecting reviews, and it just becomes this flywheel. So what's great is that actually we can take care of this completely for you, completely automated. You don't have to lift a single finger. I'd love to show you on a quick 5-minute call how it works. What's the best time for you, today or tomorrow? Boom, assumed close. I didn't go, hey, do you want to fix this? And then they go, well, maybe, let me think about it. I went, yeah, actually, I can solve this for you. Let's hop on a call. What's the best time for you? Right? And the energy I'm projecting, you can see it like in my voice as you listen to me. I'm taking them, right? I'm not, so, yeah, actually, we help people like you. We have a system. What is this communicating in my energy? The words are saying I can help you, but the energy is saying, please give me permission to get you on a call and pitch you. That is what goes wrong. You have to understand, energy in communication is 2,000 times more important than the actual words. I go, yeah, and that's actually what we fix. Now it sounds urgent, right? Now it's like, oh, okay, right? And that is what's called leading. Not only the closed questions with clearly outcomes that only makes really sense to move the progression forward, but also an energy that's like, yeah, we got to take care of this. Yes, we need to fix this. Right. So Monday or Tuesday. Okay. So 12 or 1 p.m. Okay. 1 p.m. Okay. Let's get it. What's your email again? Okay. Yeah. Right. Notice how I'm not like, so can I have your email? No. Oh yeah. By the way, what was your email again? As if they already told me. Right? I don't know their email. Oh yeah, well, what was that again about your, like, you said your name was? Because if I say it like that, that prompts them to literally answer because of the way I say it. If I say, sorry, could you remind me what's your name? Right? Now they might still answer, but it's a little bit like, it's not like I'm pulling you, right? If I say, oh yeah, but by the way, what did you say your name was again? That whole tonality with that energy makes you like inclined to answer. Anyways, we're getting into advanced stuff here. The point is that lead, closed questions, right? Make sure that you only ask questions that could literally go in your benefit. Second, create a problem, right? A real problem, a real story with real data and background to back it up. Find the words that make it more urgent than it might be, right? I said penalized. You can find other words for whatever you sell that will make more sense. The third thing, and this is the last thing where you're basically going to systemize this and be able to literally become an appointment machine. Now, everybody always says cold calling is a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It's not. It's a numbers game when you know what your numbers are. But most of you have no numbers, no data, and I'm not just going to tell you, you need to track your stuff. The thing is, you don't even know what the answers really could be to your questions for you to make sense of a numbers game. Right? A numbers game is the idea that I know my numbers, and if I just do 100 calls, I'll make 10 appointments. And if I just do 1,000 calls, I'll on average do 100 appointments. But you only know that once you are sure that this thought track, this script works. And how we do that is very simple. The only thing you need to start with is really your opener, right? So you have your opener, like, hey, is this the owner? Blah, okay, yeah. So I just want to pitch you something real quick. If you have 30 seconds of your time, would be amazing. If you want to hang up the phone right now, that could be okay. Or something completely different. Hey, I got great news and bad news. What do you want first? Right? Or anything else. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your opener is. Then from your opener, right, you want to track what the responses are. So you're going to make like a Miro flow chart. You simply create a box with the exact words, right, from your opener. Then every time you get a new response, right, so somebody might say yes, somebody might say no, somebody might say who is this, somebody might say why, right? Any answer you get, you note it after that little first box. Then you're going to write all the responses that would make sense to that. Now, based on those responses, you're going to get another response. You're again going to record every single response you ever get in a Miro. Now, you're going to be like, wouldn't I get infinite amount of answers? No. If you did your script right, people should really only be able to say yes, no, or some kind of weird answer, right? So in the end, you might only get like 6 or 7 different responses to any question, right? And you'll start to see, whoa, people are really repetitive. Over time, your flow chart will now have literally every single response that anybody could really say on a cold call on there. Now, let's say you do 100 cold calls and only once do you get an extremely weird response like, hey, actually now's not a good time. My daughter is like in the hospital. I need to go and see her. You don't have to come up with some objection to that, right? You can just be like, okay, I completely understand. I'll call you back another time. I hope your daughter is fine, right? You don't need to come up with like every single exception. But like the more general response you get, you want to have your answer ready. And it should always lead back to what? Anytime you handle an objection or you make a statement in your cold call, what is the next thing you should do? Ask a question. So when they go, oh, what's the price or what's your website? What do? You handle it and then you instantly ask a question. Yeah, I'd love to show you blah, 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 blah. What day works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? Now, over time, you pretty much have every single situation mapped out. Nobody should be able to really throw anything at you anymore that you can't handle. And then you have a system. Now, once you have a system and you have a clear script with any situation mapped out, you hire. You hire people on commission. And you show them, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to say. This is how it works. Boom. Now they're able to follow your flow chart and book appointments for you. There you have it. Now, if you want to work with me, scale fast, link in the description with case studies, testimonials, work we've done with our clients. Check that out. And otherwise, see you in the next video.